there YouTube, Big G, back again with another video. Excuse the disheveled look, but the barbershops are still closed, we're still in lockdown, so can't go out and get ourselves all neatened up, so we're stuck at home. And I just finished watching a video response by Tony. He was tagged by Interghost, and Interghost actually called it my original tag. So Interghost started a tag asking for 10 items, and he gives different genres for items that you own from originally from back in the day that you still have in your collection. Now, as a fellow hoarder, I've kept a lot of what I've had from back in the day, but unfortunately you do sell stuff and you don't always keep what you want. So you can't go and show an item that you originally had, then sold, and may have repurchased again at a later stage. You've got to keep it original, the original stuff that you've got. So I've got the list of 10 items here, and I thought this is great, let's do it. I like to join in on all these community video responses, and my original tag is a lot of fun. So the first item here is original action figure. So that would have to be my Asterix and Obelix collection from back in the day. I was given it as part of a birthday present, and I've still got it on my display cabinet there. Original Asterix and Obelix toy cloud stuff, and let me just go and show you. Okay, so here's my original Asterix and Obelix action figures from back in the day, except for these two. Those I got years back also, but they were more recent acquisition. All these are from my original collection from back in the day. All the soldiers, Asterix, Obelix, the chief, and so forth, dogmatics, and you can see they've been well played with, well used. Lots of bits and pieces that are broken and missing, but these were my favorite toys from back in the day, or action figures, and I really enjoyed them. And you can see they're still on my display cabinet, and still got pride of place, and I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Okay, so that was number one, action figure. Number two, soft toy, plushies, I suppose. I didn't really collect any plushies. I've only got one in my collection, and that is this little Donkey Kong Jr. plushie. So I got this, I think, at a garage sale, I think originally about 10-15 years ago. So this is the only one I have in my collection, nothing from earlier than that, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if this counts, but anyway, that's the only soft toy I have in my collection. The third item is a cassette game. So the only cassette games I have that I've gone through and had a look there from that I originally purchased would be for my Spectrum 48K. Great machine. I must have been about 12-13 years old, and I've actually got two of them over here, and that is Cytron from Beyond. Now Beyond brought out Lords of Midnight a little bit later, or just after this, and I remember buying this specifically because of the artwork and the big box factor. Well, this was big box back then, and from what I can remember, I didn't enjoy the game. I enjoyed more reading about it, going through the manual. It's got a lovely manual with artwork and so forth, and I think I spent more time reading and imagining what the game is about than actually playing it, because it wasn't a lot of fun from what I can recall. The other game is Horace and the Spiders. I bought this back in the day, 12-13 years old. Great game. I enjoy the horror series. One of my previous videos I also mentioned them. I thought they were great mascots for the Spectrum. The games weren't the best. I mean, the Ultimate games were better, but I still enjoyed them, and I love playing the Horace games. I've got a couple of copies. They all look the same, so this may not be the original one, but it's definitely one of the games that I owned early in the day. Okay, so that was number three, which was cassette game. Number four, cartridge game. That's a more difficult one. Didn't have any cartridges for the Spectrum. My Spectra Video, which had cartridges, I never purchased any because they were too expensive. My first system that I had that actually used cartridges when I had the system was the Famicom. in my early 20s. But going through my collection of Famicom games, I'm not sure which ones were my original one. So I'm not going to have any cartridge games, unfortunately. And the one cartridge game that I did own when I was 12, 13 years old was a cartridge for a video pack, the G7000 video pack. And I received that because I joined the G7000 club in South Africa, and they sent you a cartridge, and that was a marketing scheme for you to buy the console. I never bought the console, I ended up selling the cartridge. So I don't have any cartridges to show, unfortunately. The fourth one, CD game. Again, CD games. I got in, would have been PC games. Now, looking at my collection of PC games, which is vast, I'm not sure which ones I purchased or from back in the day, because the earliest games that I played were the Eye of the Beholder series. I love those role-play games, and I think those were all pirated. And then it moved on to the Dune games, Dune 2, the strategy games. So I think my earliest game is Red Alert 3 or Command and Conquer Generals, which I do have in my collection, but I'm not sure those are my original games. Again, I'm going to have to skip on that, unfortunately. Music, CD music from back in the day. That's the easier one. Just grab some of my earlier titles. I can still remember when CDs came out, taking over from tape and vinyl, and that would have to be Queen. Still my originals. Queen. I enjoyed Enya. Cat Stevens, loved Cat Stevens, brilliant artist. And Eurythmics, I just grabbed a couple there. Still have a lot of my original CD music in my collection. You don't ever listen to these anymore because you never stick a CD in and use it. You just play it online or through YouTube and so forth. So I still listen to a lot of the music, but just not on this media anymore. Okay, moving on. That was music. Board game. Favorite or original board game. Now, growing up on the farm, didn't have electricity during the day. Electricity would only come on at night with the generator. So we played a lot of board games. But they were primarily Monopoly, Risk, Cluedo, Scrabble, and that sort of thing. And I have a lot of them still in my shed. The only one that I had close at hand wasn't my favorite one, but we played a lot of it back then, and that is Mad, the magazine game. I also enjoyed the comics. I read a lot of the comics, got some of them in my collection, but I read a lot of the comics, and I enjoyed the humor, and it was a good board game as well. You know, you did silly stuff. It was sort of based loosely on Monopoly, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys also played this back then. My favorite board game from back then, and I wasn't going to go dig through all my boxes in my shed to go find it for you, was Risk. I love the strategy aspect of Risk. That was fantastic. That was a brilliant board game. Moving on to number 8. Comic or magazine. Computer magazines. I had a lot of them. I used to get a subscription for them growing up through high school. Unfortunately, as we moved from place to place, you know, they always disappeared. You know, the magazines just, I wish we had kept them, because it's from those magazines that my love for this vintage gaming grew. You know, you'd read a magazine in the newsagent, you'd page through it, and you'd see all these lovely systems that you wished you could own, but you couldn't because they were too expensive or weren't available. You'd look through it, Amiga, Amstrads, MSX systems, Atari STs, you know, because there were so many different varieties back then. Then you'd see the games and you'd wish you could play those games, but you couldn't. So that's why I started collecting the vintage stuff. So magazines I don't have close at hand, or I don't really have many of my original ones from back in the day, or any of them. But comics, I've got a lot of comics, and I love my comics, and I just grabbed one of my original ones from back then, and that is Riders of the Wind. This was if I look at it, yeah, I received this in 1978 from my Uncle Shirley and my Uncle Cyril and Auntie Shirley. Christmas 1978, so I was 8 years old. And I loved this comic. You know, the artwork is great. It's all about the Indians, the early Indians, and I love this. I read this from cover to cover, backwards and forwards, and awesome comic. And then from an original point of view, the ones that I used to get on subscription basis, you know, I used to get my Ghost Riders, I used to get my Hulks and so forth, but I also love my Conans. Just got a whole bunch of them over here. Conan comics, love Conan the Barbarian, and also because I enjoyed the role playing and the sort of adventure and fantasy aspects of Conan as well, which was great. Number 9, book. Favorite books. Okay, the earliest books that I can remember reading were all library books. I remember reading Doctor Who and the Daleks when I was about 12 years old. So that started my love of science fiction. But my earliest books were all historical, army, warfare. I love that sort of genre, and I just grabbed 2 of them which I still have in my collection, which was Biggles. Love Biggles from the First World War. He was a pilot, and these I received, or I got them from my friend Trevor in 1982 for my birthday present, and I still got them, and I've read them, and I've loved Biggles, and I've read other Biggles books since then, and they were just a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, and I love the warfare aspect of it and the historical aspect of it with these, what is it, a Sopwith camel that he flew back then. So great books, and I've always loved the historical, and I still watch on YouTube a lot of the history, Second World War stuff, First World War stuff, and I watched a brilliant movie the other day. What was it called? We Shall Not Forget, or something like that, where what was his name, Peter, that did the Hobbit movies. He did this on the First World War, where they took the old footage and they put colour back into it and they put words back into it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant movie. If you can get hold of it, They Shall Not Be Forgotten, or something like it. I can't remember the title now, but yeah, Biggles, earliest books, and then finally merchandise. So that would be caps, cups, coffee cups, stickers, anything like that from back in the day. And the one that comes straight to mind, sticker books were big when I was at school, and I've still got this one here, the Superhero Swap Sensation sticker book, official souvenir album. Love my comics, love my superheroes. You'd collect these stickers, swap them with your mates, and try to fill up the whole collection. I see I got there, I was in class 5A, so that would have been, I was 12 years old when I had this, and you know, absolutely brilliant. Got all the DC and Marvel heroes in, got all the stickers in, there's a little pack, and I've kept this ever since, and it's got some of my favorite superheroes from back in the day, which would be Hulk, Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine. Loved them. And just paging through here, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fun, a lot of my favorite villains as well from back then. Doctor Doom, favorite villains, and yeah, just absolutely brilliant official souvenir album. And I love these sticker books, and I'm sure you guys also can remember them from back in the day. So this would be my original merchandise from back then. So guys, yes, that's the 10 my original tag answers to Interghost's tag video. Now, they were action figures, soft toys, cassette games, cartridge game, CD, music, board game, comic, book, or merchandise. So yeah, a lot of nostalgia in there, and I'd like to tag some of my mates on YouTube as well. I'm thinking of Vota, the Highlander, there in the Netherlands, if you get a chance to do this as well. HP Zeta from here in South Africa, you know, if you get a chance to do a response video, or any other of my subscribers. It's a lot of fun to just do this sort of thing. We're on lockdown, we've got nothing else to do, and it's just a bit of nostalgia. So guys, cheers from me, and remember, keep it retro.